Tonight on Decision 2020, our panelists will discuss yesterday's special elections as well as candidates contesting the general election, Peter Bunting of the PNP and the JLP's Marlene Mello Ford. Still tonight, EOJ says that 56% of the police, military and election day workers cast their ballots at 377 polling stations island-wide. And JCF intensifies the enforcement of the Disaster Risk Management Act. Good evening. Tonight on Decision 2020, host Nicole Hales will be discussing the special elections that took place yesterday, where the police, military and election day workers voted. We will also continue to look at candidates contesting the September 3 general election, with the People's National Party's candidate for Manchester Central, Peter Bunting, and the Jamaica Labour Party's candidate for St. James West Central, Marlene Mello Ford. Still making news tonight, the Electoral Office of Jamaica, EOJ, says that the sorting of ballots for special services voting for the September 3 general election indicates that 56% of the police, military and election day workers voting population cast ballots at 377 polling stations island-wide. Director of Elections, Glasspool Brown, says reports from across the island indicate a fairly quiet day. The EOJ further outlined that special service voters' ballots were placed in specially marked individual envelopes, which were then sorted the night after the election and will be counted on election day, along with the ballots cast by civilian non-election day workers. While the Electoral Office has determined how many ballots have been received, the EOJ says there is no indication of how the electors have voted, as the envelopes will remain sealed and vaulted until the counting on election day. In the meantime, the Electoral Commission of Jamaica, ECJ, says employees that intend to vote in the upcoming general election are entitled to 3 hours time off from work on election day, September 3. The 3 hours time off to vote is in addition to the usual lunch hour. The EOJ is cautioning employers that employees have the right to time off to vote. Now, this comes following reports that have come to the attention of the Electoral Office of Jamaica that several employees have indicated that they will not be allowed the time off on election day or will only be allowed 2 hours. The law, however, does not apply to persons who begin work at 10 a.m. or later or end work at or before 2 p.m. Electors are being encouraged to make the appropriate arrangements with their employers before election day. It has also come to the attention of the EOJ that employers have been advising employees who intend to work as election day workers or to cast their vote that they will be required to quarantine for 14 days after the election. The EOJ wishes to reassure employers and election day workers that the necessary safety precautions will be taken, including mandatory thermometer checks, the wearing of masks, continuous sanitization procedures, physical distancing, and the single use of voting pencils by electors. Consequently, an election day worker's duty on election day does not warrant a mandatory 14-day quarantine. Still making Mello TV news, the management of the Jamaica Fire Brigade wishes to advise the public that the Port Antonio Fire Station has been temporarily closed due to a confirmed case of COVID-19. Operations have been relocated to the Salvation Army compound at number 3 West Baptist Avenue with immediate effect. Members of the public may still call the station to report emergencies at 876-993-3041. However, visits to the station have been suspended to facilitate deep cleaning and sanitization of the premises. Emergencies may also be reported through the following numbers: 876-857-5981 or 876 857-5994. The Port Antonio Fire Station will be reopened on Thursday, September 3, 2020. In other news tonight, the Transport Authority says out of an abundance of caution, its office located at 107 Maxfield Avenue will be temporarily closed with immediate effect, as well as its 119 Maxfield Avenue location on Friday, September 4 for deep cleaning and sanitization, as 3 members of staff came into contact with individuals who tested positive for COVID-19. Both offices will resume full operations on September 7, 2020. The Transport Authority is also advising that for customer service queries, customers may contact the Customer Care Center at 876-618-0959 or send an email to customerservice@ta.org.jm. In other news tonight, the Jamaica Constabulary Force has intensified its enforcement of the provisions of the Disaster Risk Management Act. The public is hereby being reminded that all members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF, are authorized officers and are authorized to enforce the measures of the Disaster Risk Management Act and the orders made thereunder whenever breaches are detected. Now, where a member of the public fails to comply with the direction of an authorized officer, that individual commits a breach of Section 27(1)(b) of the Disaster Risk Management Act and is liable to prosecution under Section 52(b) of the Disaster Risk Management Act. Members of the public are being urged to adhere to the guidelines of the Disaster Risk Management Act and avoid prosecution. Still making Mello TV news, Jamaica Labour Party JLP campaign co-chairman Rudyard Spencer has been hospitalized after suffering a stroke yesterday. Mr. Spencer, who represented the constituency of Clarendon Southeastern for 18 years, is 76 years of age. He resigned as the Clarendon Southeast Member of Parliament in February of this year. He served as Clarendon Southeast's MP since 2002 on a Jamaica Labour Party ticket. Continuing with the news, the National Works Agency NWA has put its teams on high alert to respond to any situation relating to the heavy rains predicted to affect the country over the next 2 days. The Meteorological Office has issued a severe weather alert for the island relating to a tropical wave that is now in the Caribbean. Manager of Communication and Customer Services at the NWA, Stephen Shaw, says that the agency is currently cleaning some critical drains, some of which had been impacted by heavy rains a week ago. These include drains along Marcus Garvey Drive and Chesterfield Drive in St. Andrew. Desilting work is also underway at Chalky River in St. Andrew, where the bridge linking the parish to St. Thomas was threatened by silt. Drain cleaning work is also being done in sections of Westmoreland, which was also impacted by the heavy rains. Mr. Shaw says that the NWA is still calculating the damage caused by the rains last week. The estimate to reopen the affected roads to date is approximately $373 million. And those were the stories making news. I am Shelley Hill. We will now join Nicole Hales with Decision 2020.